Next session we have by Sapna Grover, who will present on product managers in the era of AI. Sapna will discuss on how AI is reshaping the role of product managers and how they can thrive in the new AI-driven world. Please welcome Sapna. Simultaneously, we have Rucha Ramchandra in the Cyan Hall if anyone is interested. Thank you so much, all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all excited about next 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, the organizers, for inviting me over here. My name is Sapna, and I head the product team at Microsoft as of now. A little bit about myself. Um, so I'll just thinking where to. So these are some of the logos that define my professional and educational journey. Grew up in India, did my engineering, did my master's from Harvard, did management program in collaboration with ISB and Kellogg's. And I've also recently, 3 years back, I did a master's in AI from Purdue. And work-wise, started my career working as a scientist in DRDO, worked in a couple of startups, and then joined a company called Pegasystems in the US, moved back to India to set their India operations. Currently with Microsoft, at the same time, I'm very active at T-Hub as a T-Angel mentor, advisor, and part of their core advisory group as well. Personal side, I'm passionate about yoga. I teach on pro bono basis and practice pretty regularly. I didn't know the sequence. But this is my lovely family, blessed with kids. Husband is a techie as well at Apple. And my daughter is a doctor, MBBS doctor, and son is in 12th grade. And I have a small little Shih Tzu, not visible in the picture. Today, what are we going to talk about? The previous speaker, Rituraj, did an awesome job in setting the context for me, so I'm going to build upon his talk. So what are we going to talk about today is how are we, the role of a product manager being redefined in the era of AI. I myself, did 50% of my career, I was an engineer, 50% I'd say in product. So I'll just first ask, how many product managers in the room? There are some, okay, great to see that. Um, Often during presentations, the ask is keep your phone aside. But I'm going to ask you guys to take the phone out and whatever, whether you're using ChatGPT or any of the tools that you guys use, bring the tool out. And I'll follow what Rituraj said, disclaimer, these views are mine, not representing my organization because it's always a good practice to lay it out. So someone once said that software is eating the world. So I want you to just quickly check who said that. I'll also quickly check on my tool, any tool of your choice. Yes, I will. Thank you. So open any tool that you use and type. Did you guys get the answer? Everyone got the answer, right? So it was stated by Mark Anderson, the person who wrote Netscape, the browser which was prevalent at that time. Now the second phrase, because we saw such beautiful examples in the previous session, someone recently said, AI is eating software. So I want you to try out that as well and figure out who said that. Yeah, so you got it. It was said by, the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen. So building upon that, so what does it really mean? We saw tools like GitHub Copilot and then cursor.sh that are going to be writing tool. What does it really, really mean to build AI-first products, and what does it mean for the product owners themselves? Sorry, I have a bad throat, so just bear with me a little bit. Just got recovered from viral. So there are two things that I want to spend some time on. What is the transformative impact of AI in everything that we are doing today? And what does it mean for us as PMs who are playing this role? Let's start about AI first. Again, this enough of context set already. All eyes are on AI today. But why now? Why is that so? Of course, there's a lot of models out there available. The biggest reason is, you know, the market size for AI is growing at an unprecedented pace. This is a recent research. 2023 itself, it was $538 million. And then it is expected to reach to 638 in 2024 alone. And by the time we're talking about, let's say 2032, it is around $2.5 trillion is what we are talking about. So we're talking about massive numbers here in terms of the market impact of it. And where in the market is it having the impact? It's having the impact across all the sectors. So this is a McKinsey report which shows the sectors where it is having the impact from lowest estimate, the highest estimate. And as you can see, it is having impact across every sector, from high tech, where you would have thought a few years back that that's the area where the impact would be the least. The impact is actually the highest there. And the list goes on and on. You don't have to take pictures and things. I think the slides are going to be available, and these are all listed information. Another thing that's happening, since Rituraj talked about startup, I'm investing in startups and mentoring them as well. This is what is happening everywhere. Anywhere, if you want funding or if you want to get the project funded, just name or label the project as AI, right? Gen AI startups got record investments in the last year. Globally, the investment in the startup ecosystem fell by 65%, but AI-based startups, or Gen AI particularly, got an 110% increase. And the story in India is no different. 580 million raised for Gen AI startups. 81% are talking about horizontal. So I'll talk about where, so what I'm trying to get from here is that where is that money actually getting generated? So there's a lot of vertical applications, but there's also horizontal platform for India market specifically. So 81% investment is happening on the platform layer itself as well. Again, going back to the question, but why now? So it's like a transformative wave. People have been to the beach. You understand when there is a wave coming. So there are some forces that are responsible for the wave creation itself, which is gravitational and all that, right? So beyond us. So we are not in the business of creating waves. Of course, there are certain companies that are working in that space. Then if you see, there's an ecosystem of the entire beach itself. So there are people who are creating surfboards so that you can ride the wave. And then there are actually consumers, trainers who are teaching you how to ride the surfboard and then enjoy the surfboard as well. And then there are vendors who are selling snacks on the side because they know that the customers are going to come to the beach to enjoy the wave. So it's like a similar story. We're all riding this AI wave, and there are different players, and all the entire ecosystem is, the value is getting generated across the sectors, and the entire ecosystem is benefiting from it. If you see the examples from history as well, when steam engine came, there are companies which are involved in the infrastructure, like steel, coal, they benefit. All the hardware, actual manufacturers of the trains and the ships, and then there are operators, and then finally there are trades. So it's across these sectors that there was money getting generated. Now let's talk about at the bottom of the stack, Gen AI. So where is the money getting generated again? This infrastructure, all the cloud companies. I come from Microsoft, but Microsoft or Google or Amazon, all the cloud providers are generating money on revenue from the cloud because you need compute. Then the second thing is GPUs. NVIDIA. Anyone here invested in NVIDIA stock? You did. Smart investor. Only one hand went up. So can you share with us, I don't know when you invested. Did you invest 5 years back by any chance? Recent. So just imagine if he had invested 5 years back, how much would he had made in 5 years? Just how much time? Just think of a figure in your mind. So, and I'll of course share the answer. You can all search online as well. It's 25%, 25 times, not 25%, 2,500%. So unbelievable growth there, which, like, again, a lot of us, if had we imagined, we would have all invested. I didn't invest, so yeah, so that's where the money went as well. And of course, there are LLM models. ChatGPT is nothing but one such model. OpenAI released one such, actually several such models. They recently got a, so it's an interesting thing that it's a non-for-profit organization, but they raise funding. Their valuation is $157 billion, and they raised some 15 billions already. So it's because they are in the business of creating the large language models. And then the last stack is where all the applications that are sitting on top of it that are benefiting from it, from text generation to image generation to video generation, you name a thing, from legal to banking to retail. It's all the applications are benefiting from it. Then the second thing, as a product owner or as a product maker, you want to make sure that your product reaches millions of users. 1 million is a huge mark. So this is this chart. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen it already, how much time it took for various products to reach to 1 million mark. So it was for Netflix, 3.5 years. ChatGPT, 5 days, right? 5 days, hard to believe it. Then the second number that we track as product makers is 100 million. That's another big mark. And then if you see telephone to reach to 100 million users, it took 75 years, right? And what we're talking today with ChatGPT, it took 2 months. 2 months, so November 2022, I think for a lot of us, things changed just because everybody was using it. Even your grandma is aware of the tools as well, and they're talking about it. Funnily enough, I was invited for a talk for a senior citizen Rotary Club here, where it's all 70 plus gentlemen and ladies, and they wanted to know about how is it impacting them, how should they use it, how do they make sure that they are not getting spammed or getting, also there's a lot of worry around it as well. So why it is happening now is another important thing is because it's impacting our personal lives. Apart from providing convenience, it is impacting, people are worried about their privacy. Should they do it? Should they not do it? There's a lot of worry about ethics around it as well because, all these systems are as biased as the data or as the thing that are prevalent in the society as well. So it is impacting all of us as we speak. And then there are use cases where it is getting used, which are hard to believe an AI model really, but that's where, the industry is headed towards. So why now? The question that I started with. I didn't cover the first two bullets in details. Of course, there's enhanced computing power, all the infrastructure that's out there. There are LLMs and open source libraries. It is creating value across all sectors, right? And then the rate of diffusion means adoption, is higher than ever. Unbelievable, actually. And it is impacting our personal lives as well. It's not that, okay, you only use it at work. Someone was talking about kids getting exposed, right? So they are using this for their homework. So it is impacting our personal lives as much as it impacts our professional lives. So that's why it has become extremely important. Nobody can ignore it at the moment. The screen didn't come, that's fine. But now let's talk about how, now actually you already knew, but I hope by sharing some stats and data, it became even more on your face that it is time, we can't leave it aside. What does it mean for us as PMs? Because what happens is that you might get a customer requirement, not a customer requirement. Often what happens, people come and say, oh, I have a banking site, just add AI to it, right? But that's not how product managers are supposed to design features or prioritize the backlog. Ultimately, it's not that there's a hammer and you use it everywhere just for the sake of using it. Customer is at the center, always. So that still remains sacrosanct. Anything that you do, there are, as I was telling, there are customers who come and say, okay, for our site, we just need a chatbot. Can we use one of the Microsoft's tech to implement it? But in reality, we have to first understand what is the customer problem that we're trying to address. Are the customers facing some problem for which is chatbot really, really the answer? Is AI really, really the answer or not? So the evolution of skills, someone once said, a good product manager is like a CEO of the company, right? Ultimately, product managers do decide what goes into the product after filtering through multiple things which come from what's happening in the market, what's happening in the industry, what's happening at the customer side, whether the tech is ready, and this funnel, and that's how you ultimately decide the features. On the left-hand side, this is a traditional, historically, all the PMs would have seen it. The PM sits at the cusp of business. As a PM or a product manager, you have to understand what is the business that we are in, what technologies are available, and what are the customers really looking for which they're willing to pay the money or the dollar. And that's how the sweet spot comes. However, what we're talking about is the role of product managers or program managers in different companies. It is basically understanding the voice of the society, coming to the product development, working closely with the engineering organization, working with marketing to figure out the right marketing moment for the product, sales team to understand the right pricing of the product, business operations, support, finance, customer success, and ultimately leadership and strategy. So it's like a flywheel there. And then AI product manager, I saw it in the previous presentation as well. I'd put one fact out there. Last year, 2023, Netflix came into news because they announced a AI product manager role. There was a job posting which was listed for an AI product manager. Again, guess the salary that they quoted. And of course, it drew all the eyeballs. Yes, one hand went up, do you remember? Yeah, it was, what I read was $900, 900K. 900K is like 7 or 8 crores, something of that sort. That's what they posted it. And then it caught so many eyes and attention and everywhere, just because traditionally what the product manager does is important. Now the role of a product manager becomes even more important just because we don't want to sprinkle AI for the sake of it. What does it really mean to be an AI product manager? And what skills are we talking about to become an AI product manager? So I have, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks in India, of course, can afford cooks and all. So I had a cook, and she decided to open her own, in Hyderabad, they call it Bandi, or a small shop, where she decided to become an entrepreneur and have her shop where she would sell daily. And then every now and then I'd check with her, how was the sales, what happened, what is selling, what's not selling. So she had some, rough idea. Some days the sales happen, some days the inventory goes waste. And of course, being an engineer, being a product manager, you're like, oh, gather the data. And yes, we can figure it out, what is selling, what's not selling, for which product you should increase the price, for which product you need not increase the price, and what days, what sells, what time, and everything, right? It's all data driven. Yeah, the moment you have the data, you can make the decision. So yes, data is extremely important, even for that small example that I gave you, or any product decision that you make, okay? It's very easy to say expand and do blah, 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 you'll earn X amount more, but data has to inform. Second important pivot is privacy and compliance. When you collect data, we run the risk of getting into a territory, which is so extremely important. Tamil Nadu government has introduced data privacy policy, something, and Europe has been always very stringent. US has some policies as well. Indian government is setting out some rules there as well on our data privacy. But as a product manager, the most important thing is costing and ROI. So in the same example, it's not at all going to be advisable to set up a software, track everything, use a GPT model to figure out the right answer, right? So costing is extremely important. You just don't choose a model just because it's going to solve the problem, because these models are extremely expensive. In the previous session, we talked about sustainability. So just to give you a sense, the right side image didn't come properly, but this is an image from Washington Post. So when you write one email, and for that email, 100-word email, if you use GPT-4, what's the power consumption? And you can translate that to, dollar amount or money that you should charge for that service as well. What's the power consumption for a 100-word email? It's equivalent to the picture that's there on the right. It's like 14 bulbs running for an hour, just for one email response, 100-word email response once that you do that query. So once if you do it, the cost or the electricity consumption is equivalent to 14 bulbs lit for an hour. Then second example, let's say you're using it weekly once. One user using it weekly once, one email. That is equivalent to 9.3 households for 1 hour, right? So if one user, you yourself are very cautious using it only once a day, once a week, which is equal for a year, that's equivalent to 9.3 household electricity for an hour, right? That's the amount of power consumption we're talking about, which translates into dollar amount if you were to charge someone for these queries as well. If you were using it once weekly, was used by 1 out of 10 working Americans, the power consumption is going to be equivalent to the entire DC households for 20 days. And we're talking about 1 in 10 working Americans using it once weekly, which is not the case today. So that's the amount of power consumption that we're talking about. Yes, models are getting better, the amount of power and the cooling that is needed is getting better and better, but that's the ground reality as of today. So for that reason, going back to this costing and ROI, while I gave the sustainability, when we use it, when you take some of these models for your product, it is going to translate into some cost to the customer. Then whether the ROI really is it worth it or not is also something that you have to evaluate. That's why in addition to all these skills of UX, technology, business, data is the new oil, data is the king. You need that privacy, and costing ROI becomes extremely important. So with this, I know we have time, but I'm towards the end of my presentations. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them. Yes, two great questions. I'll repeat them just so I make sure that I got them right. And Rituraj, feel free to join and answer any of the questions as well. So the first part, yes, if you were to write the requirements yourself, you would have written so much. But if you use any of the tools, then you can write double or triple the amount. See, it's not the quality over, it's the quality over quantity. When you are building a product, it is so extremely important that you build that one feature and do it so well, rather than adding 10 features which nobody uses. See, 80% of the product doesn't get used. I'm talking about average, this is industry standard. And even in Microsoft products, we add so many features. People are not aware, it's only the 20% of the features that get used 80% of the time. So rather than adding those 100 features, the focus should be very, so that's why prioritization and ruthless prioritization. What what will your customer do if you eliminate this feature out? Are they going to come back running at you? I need this feature. I'm willing to pay an extra dollar for this. So ruthless prioritization centered around users is the key. Of course, you can produce 20 for your engineering team. You can produce 20-pager document rather than producing a one-pager document. But that one-pager document is way, way more valuable than having the 20-pager document. So prioritization and prioritizing basis, keeping the customer at the center. That's what I said, that all these tools are there to make you productive, but they're not there to make you redundant. They're not there to make you think less. So that's the first part. I think the second question part to your question was, how do we ensure that the model is, how do we know when the model is hallucinating and the take on that, right? So in this, these are co-pilots. Your customer is still the pilot. That is in charge. We use all these tools. The tools are not there yet where they can execute 100, while AI agents are coming up, but they're not there yet where they can execute the entire flow and take complete charge. You have to make sure that you give the charge back to the user, keep the user in the loop, let them override whenever they feel like. It is basically a co-pilot alongside with the main pilot as of today. And as I said, AI agents, how many of you have heard of AI agents? Yeah, AI agents are simulating the entire workflow, acting on behalf of humans. They are there for simple tasks. You can really, really simple tasks where you think you can delegate and you don't have to be in the loop. You can possibly use them, but it's not there yet. So when you are designing, UX becomes extremely important. How do you make sure that the user experience is such that it is assisting the user, helping them be in charge? They are still feeling as the main person. Your customer is still the king there. Customers often would say what you ask them, what you want them to say as well. And often they don't know what they want. So yes, customer has to be at the center because you want to make sure that you're really, really addressing their pain point, even if you yourself are the user of the product. Often with Microsoft, I myself am a consumer of a lot of products that we build, but I'm just one customer. So customer still remains extremely important, but how you engage with the customer becomes equally important. If you go to a customer and say, all right, in your email, I'll build a feature that will automatically generate this. Who's going to say no? Let's do it. So the way to ask questions, the way to do customer research is extremely important. You do a survey where you say, okay, we are adding another feature, would you like it? The answer is 90% going to be yes. And then you'll come back and say 10 customers we asked and all of them really wanted this feature. Versus if you say how much are they going to pay for this feature, and the answer will be totally different. Versus an open-ended question that you go to the customer and ask, what are your top problems right now? And then see where, and you have something in mind. The reason you went to interact with the customer is because you have some product or some idea in your head. You see if that solution that you're thinking of building, is it coming even in their top 10 things that they're going to prioritize right now? So the way to, I don't know whether I answered your question. My approach to customer interaction and getting feedback from customers, number one is a lot of that feedback can be done on the data itself. So if customers are using your product, if you're able to get the data, you'll get a lot of insight into how they're using it, where they're abandoning it, so make a data-driven decision in a lot of cases. If it's an open-ended where you want to have a conversation, you don't go with a closed survey or feedback and versus open-ended dialogue in terms of what are their pain problems, what is the business problem that they're trying to solve, not about your product, not about you, but what is their business problem that they're trying to solve. and see if any of these, what you are building, is actually addressing any of those business problems that they're in their mind. There's one hand raised here.
I have a question. I have a question related to the costing, right? Because obviously within the which is going in or their OpenAI founders are right now putting that cost from their own pocket. How do you see the sustainability part of it, right? Because reason is, if they stop doing it or if they start charging to the customers like us, half of the people will drop immediately, right? Or maybe half, I'm just a big number, maybe 90% people will drop and they say like, I don't need it now, right?
See, every company, as I said, is in a different business altogether. Let's say if you were building a product which is using some of these queries to, give it to your customer. So you have to bake in the cost of the model is what I was trying to say. I'm not saying that go stop using all the tech because it comes with an expense. Of course, there's research happening. There are small language models that have come up. There are very specialized models. So there's all the large language models which require so much of processing. There are also small language models which are pre-trained to do very specific job that is needed. My main motto of showing that was when you're building a feature, just really, really think through. Do you really need a large language model for this purpose, or is the purpose solved by a small language model or a teeny language model, or the traditional regression, one of the things that have been out there already? It's not right now the the same. Yes, there is absolutely sustainability is top of mind for all the businesses, all the big giants, because this is not going to be sustainable. A lot of
for the coffee. In a similar way, is it ChatGPT or AI related stuff is being indulged in our life? Is something like that?
So it's basically customer acquisition cost, I'd say, in business. So this is in general true for any freemium to paid model. Like you give services for free for some time if you like it as a consumer. Yes, it's a fair. It's a like it's a fair.
It's going to affect the cost of our ecosystem, right?
At the same time, you should think that what I was sharing earlier is generating employment across the sectors as well. Anything new that comes, there are both sides to the coin. There are some, negatives, but there's some positives as well.
Yes, but this opened our eyes in such a way that, okay, how well we should use the generative AI, even then it is coming for free for us right now.
So right now, yes, there are paid and free models. Yes, we were using search for free as well for all these years. And it's also AI if you think about it, like how does it figure out the right so it's a business model, pure business model. When you just said that they want you to get a taste of it so that you can pay, it's business. Yeah, it's not that. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Often as a product manager, I have seen in many organizations, they got confused with the product owner aspect. They usually think about only the skills, what is the product owner, okay? And in the end, they will say that you are just acted as a product owner, not like a product manager, okay? So my question is like, what would be the major, the skill sets, which can be like top 3, can be a major one for a product manager? And also from AA perspective, because product manager is more into a functional role as well as a technical person who knows a technical and a high level. Okay, so in AI means what would be the best things we need to focus as a product manager?
Sure. So how I would say is that in the industry, the product manager is loosely defined. There are certain organizations where there is, I would say, project manager, program manager, product manager. And then there are different expectations of each and every role. So I would say product manager is someone
who decides, as I said, it's like a mini CEO of the company. They decide what to build. They are basically deciding what game are we in, right? So when I say what game, typically, again, I'm using a game sports analogy. The CEO of the company decides, are we playing basketball or are we playing hockey? And then you take players accordingly. So that's a, someone decided. So for your feature, the product managers decide what game are we playing, or what business are we into, or what are the features that we are building. Program manager works very closely, in my view, with the engineering to see the how part of it. How are we building it in the terms of execution, sometimes even getting into technical details as well. And different, in the industry, different companies have, you know, uh, defined the roles which are a combo of how and what and when as well. So traditionally, in a lot of companies, there's no distinction between product managers and program managers. They end up playing both the roles, defining the what, and then working very closely with the engineering in the execution, how part, and that's when product owners are part of the Scrum teams to make sure that the execution is happening smoothly as well. There are few companies where the product owner, product managers might not even know the technology. They're just basically envisioning and they're just working more closely with the business side of things. And then there are some team members or in some organizations there are also specialized TPM roles, technical product managers is what they call it, which are basically working very closely with engineering in execution. And this is something which is by industry, by company, it varies. There is no right or wrong answer, right? Whatever works for that company or that business makes sense. Now, the second part of your question was skill. So depending upon whether you're playing a role, I don't know which organization you're part of, whether you're playing a role of a product manager, TPM, technical product manager, or program manager, the skills might vary. If you are playing a role of a traditional product manager who's deciding what, then prioritization, understanding the business, understanding the market, understanding the funnel. There's so many inputs to the funnel in terms of, as I said, there's analyst reports, there are industry reports, there's what's happening at the customer space, working closely with marketing, customer success, all external, and then deciding what features should go into the product. If you are more playing the role of a technical product manager or a program manager, then understanding the technology, if it's a technical product, understanding the technology, how it gets executed, how should be the back end layer, how should be the front end layer, all that becomes extremely important. Yeah, so what I said in terms of AI, okay, I personally did a master's in AI. I don't think it's needed because I had an engineering background, so I like getting back into code whenever there's an opportunity where that's not required. But a good understanding, like if you're working with engineers who are talking about model, their accuracy, their precision, then having familiarity at that level in terms of what level of precision or accuracy is good enough for you to roll out into the market. Having that level of understanding of variety of models, which is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what is the cost of the model that's acceptable for this business and all that level of understanding would definitely be required. Data is another skill. A lot of companies now have started a team specially for data analysis, which works alongside with product managers in terms of providing the data insights so that you're able to take data-driven decisions. But I'll say that having that deep insight of data and understanding would be a very good skill to have. I think we're about time. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
I think that was the sweetest session that we had from morning, right? Thank you so much. I request Mr. Vijay Bandar to please facilitate our speaker. Meanwhile, you all can scan the QR code given on your cards and give feedback to Sapna. Thank you so much, Sapna. We have a quick announcement and then we will have a break for 15 minutes. Please do not miss to take selfies and keep posting if you want to win the challenge. Please collect your coupons from registration desk and do not miss to give the feedback on retro boards. Thank you so much, Sapna. Thank you, Vijay. Thanks, everyone. We will reconvene here in 15 minutes. Thanks, everyone.